Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Patel bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Patel queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. As we wrap up another week, and what a week this has been, new updates on the Charlie Kirk assassination. Authorities released more images of a person of interest. We have the latest information released in a news conference late last night. Charlie Kirk's family accompanied his body's return to Phoenix, Arizona, late afternoon yesterday aboard Air Force 2, with the vice president and his wife joining the Kirk family. According to the school district of Greenville County, a teacher is no longer employed after inappropriate post on Charlie Kirk's shooting. This is not the only person to lose their jobs due to inappropriate posts following the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's just amazing what people will do. We'll jump into that as well. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett joins me to talk about the loss of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk. And, of course, we have your phone calls and your text messages as well.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
The manhunt continues for the assassin of Charlie Kirk. Last night, around 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Utah Governor Spencer Cox, along with FBI Director Kash Patel, Deputy Director Dan Bongino, and others, joined Governor Cox, who says that over 7,000 leads have been submitted by the public and is encouraging everyone to keep the info coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here tonight. We appreciate the media and the partnership we have with you in helping us to get information out to the public so that we can catch this assassin and hold him accountable. We are going to share a portion of a video and that we have of the suspect, as well as some new stills. Those have already been released, but we want to make sure that they get as much attention as possible so that we can get help from the public in tracking down this evil human being. So we're going to cue up the video right now. Show that. I've asked Commissioner Bo Mason if he would narrate to you what is happening in this video.
So what we saw from there were multiple still photos and some video footage. They're looking for a college-age male described as lanky who was spotted limping down a nearby residential street shortly before the shooting. He was dressed head to toe in dark clothing, a dark long-sleeve shirt with an American flag and eagle design on the front, a gray ball cap with some type of logo on the top, like a rectangle. He had wraparound dark sunglasses, gray Converse sneakers, and was carrying a black backpack. Now, the video that was referenced shows this young man immediately after the shot running across the building that he was on to the other end of the building and literally jumping off of the building, which appeared to be, 10, 12 feet. He then proceeded to walk across the grassy area. Keep in mind, there was chaos behind him. He walked across the grassy area, very calm, walked across a street that was about a block over and disappeared into the woods. Now, the FBI admitted last night that that video is what led them to search the woods, which ultimately led them to what they believed to be the weapon. Now, back to this young man. Authorities believe that he may have used the limp as part of a disguise and that he was blending in with the crowd due to the chaos of the shooting, which we know to be a fact. They're also asking for information to be called in to the FBI, and they gave the number 800-CALL-FBI. They also have a website set up that you can upload photos and videos. Charlie Kirk, 31 years old, killed by a single sniper shot fired from the Losi Center building. It's about 200 yards away as he addressed a crowd of about 3,000 people as part of his American Comeback Tour. Witnesses said the crowd initially thought that they had heard fireworks before seeing Kirk collapse on stage. Police say the suspected shooter and the gun that they have recovered was a .30-06 Mauser bolt-action rifle. It was recovered wrapped in a towel in the wooded area near the campus. Now, I'm told by some of my buddies who shoot that this type of bolt-action rifle is the type of rifle that would be used for these types of precision shots. That snipers often use the bolt action because, unlike some of the automatics and all, they're less parts and they're more accurate. I don't know. I don't know that much about shooting a rifle. I do know that after seeing the video, after seeing the footage and some of the photos that have been released, it was quite the shot. This guy has to have some type of history in marksmanship. Two other individuals were briefly detained. One on an obstruction charge. Both were later cleared of any involvement. At this point, the person in the photos is the only known suspect that authorities have given us. Officials believe the assassin was highly coordinated, possibly using the chaos of the crowd and his clothing to slip away on foot within minutes. A map released by investigators shows the shot was fired from this elevated area, giving the sniper a clear line of sight and a quick escape route. So he had enough wherewithal to think that through, but yet authorities also pointing out that he wasn't so smart that he didn't leave a lot of clues behind. They released photos of the area where he was lying on the roof and where he got the shot off. His indentions were there. You could visibly see some of the overhead shots. You could visibly see where his elbows had been in this graveled roof. Authorities say that they probably have some DNA on that rifle. They have a footprint that clearly identifies his shoes as being Converse shoes. So he wasn't smart enough to not leave evidence of his being there. Now, there's speculation that authorities may have some cell phone data and that they may be tracking him somewhat through cell phone. I don't know. They didn't mention that in the news conference last night, and they did not take any questions. But as we've discussed all week, this isn't just about one horrific crime. Charlie Kirk's death has rattled the conservative movement. Members of Congress, including several who marked the 24th anniversary of 9/11 yesterday, warned that political violence is rising inside of America and that rhetoric demonizing conservatives has consequences. As Congressman Chip Roy put it, and I'm going to share this with you a little bit later in today's show, we need a country that respects the rule of law and can actually engage in civil discourse. We don't have that right now, and he's right. Congressman Tim Burchett was even more blunt, saying the left has blood on their hands, and they do. But right now, we have to focus on catching this assassin. Governor Cox ended the press conference last night again appealing to the public for their help.
But I do want to share a couple things that I think are important. We cannot do our job without the public's help right now. The public has answered our call for action. So far, we've received more than 7,000 leads and tips. I would just note that the FBI hasn't received this many digital media tips from the public since the Boston Marathon bombing. This case also highlights the dedication of our law enforcement community. We have 20 federal, state, and local law enforcement partners that are working shoulder to shoulder to find the person who committed this horrific crime. With their support, we've completed nearly 200 interviews. As you're aware, as has already been reported, the FBI is offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the identification and arrest of the person responsible for the murder of Charlie Kirk. We also continue to implore the public to support this investigation and come forward with any information. We are truly hopeful that this video and new photos will lead to even more tips. We are processing. We have an incredible team, a state and federal team working together to process those tips. We are going out in tandem to interview any potential person of interest or suspects. But we need, again, we need as much help as we can possibly get. Any videos or photos that you might have, the public, should be submitted to our digital media tip line, which is www.fbi.gov/Utah Valley shooting, all lowercase. Again, that is fbi.gov/Utah Valley shooting, all lowercase.
And we can only hope that information is received to identify this young man and his whereabouts and take him off the street very quickly. Let's be honest, those summer vacations and backyard barbecues added some extra pounds, right? But instead of feeling guilty or falling further behind, it's time to reset, drop the weight, and get back in control. The solution isn't a shot. Real lasting weight loss starts with your mind, not your mouth. At PhD Weight Loss, Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team help you uncover the real reasons behind your weight gain so that you can reprogram the way you think about food forever. PhD clients lose up to a third of their body weight without ever taking a drug. I know because I lost 33 pounds with PhD weight loss. Through real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science, your body can become a natural fat-burning machine. Why risk spending thousands on shots that strip away muscle, come with dangerous side effects, and leave most people regaining 60% of the weight within a year? With PhD, you'll activate your body's natural appetite control, burn fat safely, and stay in control. Even if you're already on Ozempic, PhD can help you transition off while still losing weight. Take the first step today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. Greenville County Schools says that a teacher is no longer employed with the district after it was made aware of an inappropriate message on social media attributed to this teacher. The post was made following the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Wynn Bolick was the teacher's name. He's a teacher at Southside High School and was put on leave while the district fully investigated and followed the required due process. The statement from the district said, as this is a personnel matter, we are prevented from providing further details. As always, we expect all staff members to conduct themselves in a professional manner that best represents our district and schools. Later in the day, at 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon, Greenville County Schools provided an update saying, we have concluded our investigation of the matter and confirmed the inappropriate message was written by Mr. Bolick. He is no longer employed with Greenville County Schools. We strongly condemn the message shared by the former employee as it does not reflect the standards we expect of our staff. We remain committed to upholding the values of professionalism and respect for our students, families, colleagues, and community. When asked if Bolick was fired, the school district referred to the statement above. So what did Mr. Bolick post that got him fired? He had a meme on his Facebook page that said thoughts and prayers to his children, but America became greater today. There, I said it. Wow. And he's not the only one. There's others all around the country who have posted these nasty messages celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. I hate that the guy lost his job, but we don't need people like that in the classrooms, do we? He should have had enough sense. I hope he has trouble finding a job. This will go on his permanent record I would hope. By the way, Nancy Mace kind of brought this to a head. She posted it or reposted it on her Facebook saying, Greenville County Schools, we believe you may have some explaining to do. And it went viral from there. Many of you text and emailed about it as well. And this is just an example of us holding people accountable for what they do and what they say. A lot of text messages. Ginger writes, Joey, I wish I could lower my flag on my porch to half-mast for Charlie and 9/11. I don't know if there's a way to do that. I'm assuming Ginger has one that just sort of probably attached to one of your columns. But it's a great thought, Ginger. Faye says, Joey, it is sickening to hear people you love say they're happy Charlie has been killed. How can this happen? A friend compared Charlie to Billy Graham. To think we have those who have been okay if Billy Graham had been assassinated. Our wonderful land must get back to biblical teaching. Folks, we have to pray hard for our country not to be devoured by evil. We are at war, good versus evil. We believers know how the story ends. And yes, we do. Paul says, thank you for the constructive conversations and the reminder, God is in control. Paul in Greenville. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate you listening. Ray says, good day, Joey. I saw a headline that the Senate is working on a deal to avoid the nuclear option for all the presidential appointments. I am so sick of the rhinos in the Senate. Their argument is always that one day the Democrats will be in charge. BS. Look at history. When the Democrats are in power, they always find a way around any rule to accomplish their goals. Why can't we stand on our hind legs and do what we need to do right now? We in South Carolina have the opportunity to get rid of one of the most rhino senators and to demand the removal of John Thune as majority leader. Our president has won so much. Let's not quit now. Texter, hey, Joey, it's Jennifer. Have you noticed since Charlie Kirk was murdered by an assassin using a high-powered rifle that the left has said nothing about gun control? And didn't that shot fire right after the word trans was mentioned? Jennifer, actually, I think you're right. He was asked a question and was just beginning to answer a question on the topic of transgenders. Well, folks, last night in the Bronx, President Donald Trump got a hero's welcome at Yankee Stadium. Did you see any of it? And let me tell you, it was a moment. On the 24th anniversary of 9/11, President Trump stood tall during the national anthem, saluting the flag while chants of USA, USA echoed through the crowd. And yes, this was in New York City, deep blue territory, yet the president received a strong ovation from the Bronx faithful. And that's no small thing, considering where he was. Now, of course, there were a few scattered boos. It is New York. But they were drowned out by patriotic chants and applause. Even a faint "Let's Go Brandon" moment tried to break out, but it didn't gain traction. People were there to see baseball and to see the President of the United States, and they showed great respect for Donald Trump. Before the game, President Trump stopped by the Yankees clubhouse. He shook hands, had a solid chat with Aaron Judge and Anthony Volpe. Wouldn't you know it, right after meeting Trump, Judge hits a monster solo homer, 110 miles an hour off the bat. Coincidence? I don't know, folks. The guy just brings winning energy wherever he goes. Trump watched the game from a luxury suite alongside Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner. The team president, Randy Levine, after attending a solemn 9/11 memorial at the Pentagon earlier in the day, Trump made his way over to the ball game. And that's what a real leader looks like. He honors the fallen, then he joins the American people for our national pastime, to take in a baseball game. It was also the first MLB game that Trump's attended since the 2021 World Series. And get this, he hasn't been to a ball game as sitting president since Game 5 of the 2019 Fall Classic. But when he shows up, boy, the energy shifts. It was just amazing to watch. Folks, say what you want about the president, but the man knows how to show love for the country. And last night, that love was returned. On the anniversary of one of the darkest days in our nation's history, Americans came together, and for a few innings of baseball, we saw a unity that is rare in today's times. Now, and imagine that kind of unity coming back to the White House. Imagine that kind of unity across the nation. That's our prayer, is that in remembering 9/11 and with the devastation of losing Charlie Kirk, that we will pause and that we will figure out a way that we can live together, share our differences, but not be just so so mean-spirited and not have the hatred. A story out of South Carolina that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, a transgender student in Berkeley County, South Carolina, can now continue using the bathroom of his choice while a lawsuit continues. This according to the nation's highest court this week, the Supreme Court. The order applies to only one student. He's a ninth grader, identified in court filings as John Doe, and is suing the state over a budget clause requiring transgender students use the bathrooms and locker rooms that match their biological sex at birth. Last month, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals said that the student could use the school bathroom of his choice while the case proceeded, overturning a lower court decision that had said that he could not. Now, Attorney General Alan Wilson's office asked the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn that decision, arguing the appeals court got it wrong. The nation's high court declined to overrule last month's ruling. That decision now is not a ruling on the merits of the legal issues, so it's not done. In their statement, it said, rather, it is based on the standards applicable for obtaining emergency relief from this court. Basically, they're not saying that they don't disagree with it, but they want the case to proceed. Justices Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Neil Gorsuch disagreed and would have granted the state's request according to the order. That lawsuit's ongoing. The budget clause, first added to the state budget last year, remained in the spending plan that took effect July the 1st. School districts that don't enforce it risk losing a quarter of their funding. Although the order applied only to the one student involved in the lawsuit, it showed support for all transgender students, said Alexandra Brodsky, an attorney working in the case for public justice. Brodsky said in a statement, we're so thrilled that our client will continue to be able to use boys' restrooms while his appeal continues, and hope today's decision will provide hope to other trans students and their families during these difficult times. Folks, I still just can't wrap my mind around this. I can't understand why parents and adults encourage these young people. They should just be told, son, you were born a male. That's how God made you. You need to go to the boys' bathroom. Daughter, you were born as a female. That's how God made you. You need to go to the females, to the girls' bathroom. It should just be that simple, right? Attorney General Alan Wilson said, we may have lost this battle, but we believe we will ultimately win the war. Yesterday, of course, marked 24 years since the worst terrorist attack ever carried out on American soil. 24 years since we watched the Twin Towers fall, since the Pentagon was struck, since brave passengers on Flight 93 said, let's roll, and sacrificed their lives to stop another plane from slamming into our nation's capital. We said never forget, and we meant it. We rebuilt our military. We reorganized our intelligence. And for 2 decades, we kept foreign terror groups on the run. But here we are, 24 years later, and members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, are saying that they're more worried today about domestic terrorism than foreign threats. And the whole idea of remembering 9/11 was just overshadowed this year because of the horrible tragedy of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The nation was watching the manhunt for the assassin of Charlie Kirk rather than being focused on remembering what happened 24 years ago. And that's sad in itself. Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee told Fox News Digital that while we have to be vigilant on all fronts, he believes the more urgent threat is now coming from within. And he did not mince words about the assassination of conservative leader Charlie Kirk either. He and other congressmen like Chip Roy, Jody Arrington, they all talked about how we have to be vigilant on the terrorist, the domestic terrorism that we are now witnessing on American soil.
What do you think is the bigger threat, domestic terrorists or foreign terrorists after what's going on?
All of it. You got to be vigilant on all of it. But there's a lot of signs we need to watch for, but the left has they got blood on their hands on this one. There's no question, and repercussions I think it could be monumental at the ballot box.
Domestic terrorism keeps me up at night, and I want to work with my Republican colleagues in the law enforcement community and activists and people of goodwill in keeping our community safe.
I think domestic. I think we have to be vigilant on both fronts. You can't let your guard down on either. I was in the White House on 9/11 with George W. Bush, and you also can't allow your border to be wide open where you have record numbers of people on the terrorist watch list over here. As we've said, it's not a matter of if, but when.
We need a country that respects the rule of law and can actually engage in civil discourse. We don't have that right now. And that's a problem. We have threats from all around, overseas and here. But, we got to start respecting the rule of law again, or we're not going to have anything left.
Now, this was just a small sample of members of Congress, both Republican and Democrats. And let that sink in for a minute. Just think about that. Members of Congress saying that many of us have been thinking, that the demonization of conservative voices has consequences. When people are told day after day that conservatives are fascists, extremists, enemies of democracy, someone eventually takes that rhetoric seriously. And when they do, it can turn deadly, as we witnessed this week. You also heard, as part of that, that was Texas Congressman Chip Roy, warning that the core problem isn't just politics, it's the breakdown of civil discourse itself, saying we need a country that respects the rule of law and can actually engage in civil discourse. We don't have that right now, and I agree with that. He's right. It used to be we could argue about tax rates or border security and then grab lunch afterwards. Today, disagree with the wrong person on social media, and they don't debate you. They dox you. They threaten your job. They try to get you silenced or worse. And sadly, that rising tide of rage has spilled over into actual violence at school board meetings, on college campuses, as we witnessed this week, and even in our halls of Congress. Representative Jody Arrington, another Texan, said he worries most about domestic attacks, and he reminded us that he was inside the White House on 9/11. He said it's not a matter of if, but when, and he made a point that hits home here in the Carolinas and across the country. You can't allow your border to be wide open where you have people, record numbers of people on terrorist watch lists coming into our country. And that's what we have witnessed over the last 4 years of Joe Biden. That's the part that will keep you up at night. Because while the media downplays the border crisis, the reality is we have caught record numbers of people on the terror watch list trying to cross the southern border in the past few years. How many actually got in? How many terror cells do we have living in our country, preparing for the next 9/11? I don't want to sound dramatic, don't want to try to scare you. But you have to think about that when we know that Joe Biden didn't care. Joe Biden's open borders, he either wasn't smart enough or didn't care that terrorists were coming across our southern border. How many slipped through? How many are lying low, biding their time? I mean, when you think about it, it only took 19 men to carry out 9/11. Think about that. Only 19 men. Texas Congressman Troy Nehls echoed that concern and pointed out something chilling. He said, we can't have a casual conversation and agree to disagree. We're going to start raising our fists or start pointing guns and start shooting people. It's gone too far. And yes, it has. He pointed to the murder of Laken Riley by an illegal immigrant and said groups like the Venezuelan gangs are effectively terrorists preying on Americans. He's right about that too. These aren't just policy debates anymore. These are life and death stakes because the system has broken down to the point where violent people are getting in and violent rhetoric is egging others on here at home. They're exciting them to riot. Then there was Nebraska Congressman Don Bacon, who said something that stopped me cold. He said the international terror threat is still there, but the domestic threat is growing because, and here's a quote, we've lost our moorings a little bit spiritually. A lot of folks don't have hope or purpose, a spiritual hope or purpose. And then you have all this demonization and people get caught up in it. You get caught up in your own little website, social media, your own cable, and then these guys feed on the anger. And that's what I think we see with these school shootings. These young men who are miserable, who are mentally ill, and just want to hurt people because they have been hurting themselves and no one's tried to help them. I think Bacon is absolutely on target here. When you lose faith in God, in country, and family, something has to fill that void. And unfortunately, far too often today, it's anger, it's resentment, conspiracy, it's hate that leads to violence. When you combine that spiritual void with nonstop demonization from the media and political elites, you get radicals. And as we've seen with the killing of my colleague Charlie Kirk, it only takes one radical with a gun to shatter lives and shake the whole country. Wow. And this isn't just Republicans sounding the alarm. Representative Andre Carson, a Democrat from Indiana, was quoted as saying, domestic terrorism keeps me up at night. A Democrat, Richie Torres from New York, said he worries about the rise of violent extremism fueled by social media. He admitted something few politicians will say out loud. The safety of public figures can no longer be taken for granted. I have lost an incentive to do public events without extensive safety precautions. I suspect that anxiety is weighing heavily on every member of Congress. And it has to. It has to. That's why you don't see the public town halls that we used to see with members of Congress, because it is just absolutely dangerous to do them. Folks, our country is better than this. We have to do better. That's it for today's show. Tara's up next, followed by Mike Gallagher, Bill Frady, Charlie James. I'm back on Monday at 5 a.m. for more Sunrise Carolina and your first cup of coffee. Until then, folks, remember, God's got this. He's still in control. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. On our guest line, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. I can't believe, woke up this morning still in shock over our friend Charlie Kirk.
Yep.
Can't believe what happened, and it's kind of a heavy day for sure.
It really is a sad day on so many different levels as we witness the political assassination of my Salem media colleague, Charlie Kirk, part of our company, part of our network. When I first heard that he had been shot, it was just surreal. It was hard to believe. And then when the chyrons started, popping up on our TV screen, Charlie Kirk shot. And at that point, we didn't know what the situation was. Our CEO at Salem had let us know that he was alive at that time, but in critical condition. But you saw some of the videos that were being circulated, and you're thinking, how does he survive this? And of course, he did not.
I know. My prayer is that Charlie never knew really what happened, right? That it was one of those things that, when something horrible like this happens, you always go to, wow, I hope they didn't suffer. I hope he didn't know. But this is, it's a wake-up call. We say this all the time when bad things happen, but people need to wake up. I mean, the left and how they handled this after it happened is really shocking and appalling. And the leaders of their parties should really come together. I heard this morning that one of the commentators for MSNBC was fired last night.
He was
for the very insensitive statements that he had made right after the shooting. So, it's something that I think, President Trump came out last night with a very, I want to say, a very powerful statement saying that this is going to end. He is not going to allow people to go after law enforcement. He's not going to allow media to talk about, to be so irresponsible as to talk. And he knows this. It's been him. It's been people like Charlie. It's been conservatives. It's the way they talk about ICE. This dangerous. And now I think everybody should be able to agree very dangerous rhetoric needs to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing with Charlie was, and I'm sure you've been to some of his events. I've been to many over the years, and it was just always amazed me. And what encouraged me so about Charlie and Turning Point USA was the fact that, you go there and there'd be 10,000 students, kids, young people there who wanted to be engaged, wanted to be involved. But the thing about Charlie was he was never hateful. It wasn't hate speech. He loved to debate. He loved to exchange ideas, and he was so quick on his feet. He was so smart, one of the smartest guys I know. And to think that has just been taken away from the young people in this country.
Well, I think it becomes the responsibility of Turning Point and all the people that were so closely involved in, Joey, all of us, right? What you do, what Mike does, we have got to now pick up the torch that's been dropped. And we really have to reach out to that community, right? To the college kids who, as Charlie said many times, are thirsting for the truth. They're thirsting for debate. And you're right. He offered them that perspective, that counter perspective that they weren't getting. They were only hearing one side of every story, and he was making them think, right? Whether he was saying, tell me what a woman is.
Yeah.
Tell me why life isn't important to you. Like, tell me why. Like he really wanted to hear what they thought, and he challenged them with his opinion. But like you said, in a very respectful way, not hurtful, not mean, just the counter ideas that they had to take away thinking about.
Yeah.
And he said it many times, and they were playing this yesterday a lot, where he said, when you stop talking is when violence begins.
Yep. And he was right.
And he felt very strong. Yeah.
It's just, he's an amazing young man. And to think that he started that organization, Turning Point USA, when he was 18 years old. And I've been watching Charlie because of the organization. I was just amazed of his organization. But then when he joined Salem Media and became part of our team, and I had the chance to get to know him a little better, it's just amazing what he has accomplished. And, I don't know how you protect against something like that. I mean, he loved being out on those college campuses. He, always had the same setup. He had the white tent with the Turning Point logo on it. He sat under there with a microphone out front that anyone could ask him anything. And when you're out in the public like that, I don't know how you could do anything differently.
I know, I don't know. It's sad to think, like, is now anybody who would continue a person, right? You have to put them indoors. It's kind of like we saw with the president, right? We had outdoor rallies everywhere I traveled with the president. Mostly were outdoor rallies, even in the cold weather. And then, people start saying, well, we got to bring these things indoors so that we have a better idea. We can protect the people that are talking and protect the people in the venue. But, the political violence that the left throws our way, you look at just the president attempted assassination twice. Look at what happened to Lee Zeldin. Now you see what happens to Charlie Kirk. Their rhetoric has to stop. This everyday calling Republicans a threat to democracy. Just the sharp way they talk. Jasmine Crockett, she incites violence at every turn, talking about physical altercations. Their rhetoric needs to be stopped, and I'm once again proud of the president for saying this will end. He will make sure now that this ends, and I think he gave a very strong warning to Democrats across the country when it comes to law enforcement. That's why I felt like the HALO Act, it was such a common sense thing that we need to pass here in South Carolina. We've got to keep law enforcement safe. We've got to keep our ICE agents safe, and we've got to keep our elected officials safe. We're continuing to be demonized by, mental health is on a rise. And then you have, Democrats and media standing out there and saying the things that they're saying. It doesn't take long for somebody who's suffering from mental illness to feel like they're doing something noble and righteous. And, those people have blood on their hands. They had blood on their hands when it happened with President Trump. And this is the first time that this young generation, Joey, has seen somebody truly assassinated. And I think it's going to leave a very strong mark on young people on college campuses all across this country.
Well, the only thing we can hope is that this will wake people up finally, and we can get back to a more sane conversation and this violence stops. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evans, always a pleasure, and you definitely be safe out there.
Thank you, Joey. You too, and I look forward to seeing you this weekend.
Absolutely. See you on Saturday at the Farm Fest.
All right. Take care of everybody. Everybody be safe, and please keep Charlie's wife and his young children in your prayers. It's going to be a very difficult time ahead.
Yep, sure thing. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.